Hello, and today we're talking about podcasts yet again because there's a bunch of new podcasts that I've been listening to. Not necessarily new, but they're new to me, and they might be new to you. So, the first podcast that I'm going to be talking about is The Illusionist. This is the most recent one that I've been listening to, but it's been happening since 2015, I believe. The Illusionist is a podcast hosted by Helen Zaltzman. It is a podcast about words, linguistics, the English language and how it has evolved and like the weird quirkiness of it. And she'll focus on different words or topics or phrases, whatnot. Like she had an episode about bras and how bras has changed through the years. I really like them. They're usually like 15-minute chunks, which I like a short podcast because a lot of the podcasts I listen to are on the longer side. And sometimes you just need something short and quick and good. And this is that. I have just started listening from the beginning and slowly been making my way through them. I love how it's written. I think it's quite funny. The next podcast is More Perfect. It is a podcast about the Supreme Court. They have 3 seasons now. The 3rd season just recently came out, but I haven't listened to it yet. They talk about the Supreme Court and how the decisions that they make on marriage or money or public safety affect everyone. They talk about specific decisions and explain what happens inside the court and how those rulings affect everyone in America. But they're very interesting, and even if you're not American, it's interesting to learn how these things happen and the history behind it in the process. Each episode is usually more around 45 minutes to an hour in length. The spin-off from Radiolab, another podcast that I quite like that I have mentioned in the past. Next podcast is Magic Lessons by Elizabeth Gilbert. Elizabeth Gilbert wrote one of my favorite books on writing and / being creative, Big Magic. I loved it. I found it very inspirational, and it really kind of kickstarts you to making stuff and being creative, not letting yourself hold you back. So with that book, this podcast kind of bloomed out of that. Call in with any problems that they have in the creative sphere, whether they're in a rut or whatever they're coming across that is a problem, and they talk to Elizabeth Gilbert and she tries to give them advice. Oftentimes she'll bring in another person that is also creative that has gone through something similar to also try to give them advice. Another person that she's brought in once was Brené Brown, another woman who's just very smart and who I really like a whole lot. There are 2 seasons, I believe, of this. I'm only on the 1st season so far, and those episodes are usually in about 20 minutes in length, but I have noticed in the 2nd season more in the hour range. And the last podcast that I will be talking about is The Habitat. The Habitat is a true story. It's basically a mini-series. There are only 7 episodes in length plus a bonus. They are all 30 minutes in length. It follows these 6 people who volunteered for NASA. They're basically volunteered to pretend to live on Mars. They're actually in Hawaii, this remote part of Hawaii at the side of a mountain, I believe. Basically they have to live in this small little habitat and pretend like they are on Mars for a whole year. It's basically a test to see whenever they do end up sending people to Mars, what that would do to the people, because it'll be such a small crew, they'll be in such a small contained space, and it'll just be them, and seeing how people react and live and how they function within that year. Also, there's only 7 episodes, so once you're done, it's nice. So those are the 4 podcasts that I have been currently loving, that have been new to me. Please let me know what some podcasts that you have been liking, because although I have a long list on my phone of stuff that I want to listen to and the stuff that I currently listen to, I always like new suggestions. That is it for me and my sweater that I quite like. It's not a full turtleneck, which I don't think I can handle. You don't need to know about that. Goodbye.